Stats versus facts. Ayy, know where we at on the stats versus facts. Yeah, my boy, hella black on the stats versus facts. And you might get smacked by the stats versus facts. Ayy. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Stats versus Facts. You know where we at. Sports Talk. I'm here with the crew. What it do, crew? What it do?
What's going on, good sir?
Oh, what's up? What's up?
I'm chilling. Got that man G-Reg.
Always looking for money, baby. You know what it is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we got our cut man corner himself, Daniel Garcia. What's going on, cut man?
What's going on, everybody? Hey, I'm actually here at the beginning of the show for once. What's going on?
Dang, bro. Is that a fresh cut too?
Ooh.
No, absolutely not. I have not had a haircut in about a month and a half.
That's what I thought.
I haven't had a haircut in the
That's my second guess.
That's very nice. That's very nice of you.
C-Mac is not with us today, but we have some exciting news. He is a college graduate. Congrats, C-Mac. I was gonna say happy birthday, C-Mac. Congratulations, C-Mac.
Let's go.
Got his bachelor's, so he is living it up. My boy will be back on the next one.
What did he graduate in?
He graduated with his bachelor's in communications.
Communications, okay.
Yep. Concentration of, I think it was radio, television, and news. I think that's what it was. So, or social media, something like that. Anyway, congrats, C-Mac. We are proud of you. Give you a...
when one makes it, we all make it.
That's it.
Yep. Give you a big 2 claps from Stats versus Facts. 1, 2, 3, 2 claps.
I don't have the setups like y'all guys. I have to
got wild down there.
I don't have no assistants behind the screen, videotaping me and making sure I look all good like you guys. Probably put on some makeup before the show and everything. Make sure you guys, have your light all right.
Yeah, I definitely have two hot women over here, just making sure I'm good. My lights and stuff.
I got 2 hot doors to the back of me. Anyway, well, let's get to the show, man. First of all, Giannis Antetokounmpo signed 5-year Supermax with the Milwaukee Bucks, getting that
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching, you know what I mean? 200.
I got a question.
Go ahead. Whoa, go ahead.
Yes, I'm interrupting. I got a question.
Good.
Does anybody really care too much about this besides the fact that Giannis is now getting paid?
$228 million for 5 years. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
So look, I'm gonna say this. It's good to see him stay for this reason. He's not jumping ship like all these other stars. He's like, yo, Milwaukee's my city. I want to win here, which, is admirable. I like, because really there's only about, including him now, 4 players that have committed to staying with their teams. It's him, Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, and I'm going to throw Bradley Beal in there because he has been in Washington for quite a while. He got that big deal too. So there's those 4 guys. Other than that, everybody else is kind of bounced around this, that, the other. Whether Lucas stays...
you got your two guys out in Philly who might stay, Embiid and Simmons. They haven't really talked too much about wanting to leave.
True, I will say that, but they haven't been in the league as long as like a Beal, Lillard, Giannis, and Curry. So that's why I'll say
most stars will stay for 8 years and then bounce.
Right, like Davis, LeBron, Jimmy Butler left multiple times. We don't know about Devin Booker if he'll end up staying. We still got to see. Chris Paul is bounced around. Blake Griffin got traded against his will. I mean, LaMarcus ended up leaving. There's a lot of guys moving around. So Luka could be the next guy that may stay. Maybe Zion will stay. Maybe Trae Young. That still all remains to be seen. But anyway, with saying that, I don't think he'll win in Milwaukee.
Will he make a finals appearance?
Oh, his best chance this year, right?
Yeah, I'd say his best chances this year.
We said that last year, though, right?
Yeah.
And the year before that.
Because once he starts making 40 mil, then him and Milton's like making like 37. So they're like they'll make like 70, 80 million, just them two.
Right. I think this year is his best chance to make it. They do have Drew Holiday, which is an upgrade from Eric Bledsoe. They still have DiVincenzo. They let go of Wesley Matthews. Who else? They brought somebody else in too.
DJ Augustine, the God.
DJ Augustine. There you go. They brought in DJ Augustine. So their backcourt is actually looking a lot better and off the bench too.
They also got an old, very, very old Kyle Korver.
They still have Korver. They still have
Brook Lopez. I mean, they got pieces. They got Stauskas as a shooter. I mean, they have a really, really good team around them.
Their starting five, like their bench.
Like they got guys who play their role, right? Who do what you need them to do. But we've seen this throughout. I mean, no matter what you want to say, this guy's still in. This is my take. Take it or leave it. But Michael Jordan, he had to lose to the Pistons to make it to the finals, right? Isaiah's Pistons had to lose to the Celtics several times, and then to the Lakers once they got to the finals.
Right.
Almost nobody, even LeBron, lost his first year against the Spurs. He got swept. Everybody needs to go through those trials and lose, and then come back in order to win, right? So maybe we're just putting too much, Giannis on too much of a pedestal when every single other star in the history of this league pretty much has had to have gone through the same things in order to become good enough to win a championship. You kind of have to learn how to lose, and you have to learn how to win.
Right. So in saying that, he has lost, a lot. And I think last year was definitely the time, especially when they ended up losing to Miami in the conference semifinals, where it's like, okay, we're actually regressing. We're not moving forward. We're taking a step back. So where they're like, okay, now we need some pieces. If they would have gotten Bogdanovich, that would have been huge. You know what I mean? So now it's kind of like, they got to go with what they got. Holiday is a great perimeter defender. Augustine, although he's a smaller guard, he can still put up points, especially when it comes to the playoffs. I mean, he's done it the past couple of years with the Magic, So they have some guys around him defensively. If Holiday can step up, let me say this: Holiday can step up and be the second scorer and push Middleton back to the third scorer, the third option. They'll be okay, but I don't know how good you can be with Holiday as being your second, scorer. It all depends on whether Giannis develops that 3-point shot or not.
They need a closer, right? They need somebody that's going to get on a bucket in tough times, right?
Right. They do need a closer, which I've seen some small flashes from Middleton. Holiday could possibly do that for them. I think Augustine has kind of hit some big shots in clutch moments, but not all the time.
But they're not. Neither of those guys are the guy, though, right? Like
no,
they're not players.
I mean, but Robert Horry hit some of the biggest shots in NBA history. So I guess you can rely on those role players. Ray Allen as well, but Ray Allen was a superstar at one point, though.
True, he was, but down the stretch,
Robert Horry at no point in his career was ever a
superstar at all.
Any more than that, he wasn't even an all-star. He was a barely starter on some teams when he was younger with the Rockets, right? So, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe one of those guys could step up and play that role for him.
Right. Now, there's also the possibility of a trade to where somehow, I don't know who they would trade, but Harden may have some interest in going to Milwaukee. So I don't know who the Bucks would end up sending. But if not,
do they have enough picks to make a trade like that?
I don't know. I think they give up a lot for Drew Holiday, right?
Yeah, and I don't know who they would give up for Harden. Who would the Rockets? I mean, obviously, I'm sure the Rockets would be like, "We want Giannis." If we don't
like we want Kyrie, we want Ben Simmons. Like, bro, just take Tobias Harris or something. Just.
They wanted Ben Simmons and like 3 picks or something. I was like, "Gee whiz!"
You can keep him.
Yeah. So if Harden ends up staying in Houston, next year when he's a free agent, where is he going? Brooklyn, because they're probably not going to win the championship this year.
Why is it always the most selfish players want to play with the other selfish players? Like the guys who want to win that have their own team or whatever, end up playing with each other.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
Like it's such a toxic.
And then they end up hating each
such
other.
a toxic mix there, especially if they add Harden into that mix. I mean, I just don't.
I think it's a respect factor. I think they respect each other's game.
Yeah, but do you think they can coexist? Do you think there's enough, shots to be taken?
Theoretically, yes.
To go around.
Will they? I don't know.
Well, the way they're gonna have to do it is they're gonna have to end up, and I'm thinking they probably will trade Dinwiddie and LeVert. They'll probably trade them. They have he's getting better in Luwalu Cabaret. He's actually not bad, and they have him for cheap still. Mike Chiozzo, is this Mike Chiozzo or Chiozzo? Small guard. He's actually proven he could play a little bit. I'm watching some of his highlights. Corvax.
Oh yeah.
For the bigger dude, foreigner, he's actually he had a nice pass the other day. I was like, okay.
And they got Shamit.
Yeah, they have Shamit as well. So they have some guys that can kind of just sit there and be role players, and then you have Jared Allen, who's going to be your anchor, at center, and you're not really going to have to pay him a whole lot because he does okay.
Yeah,
I was looking at some interesting stuff when they were talking about the Harden trade, and I went deep on the NBA salary cap. And if anybody ever has any interest in geeking out, there's a really cool salary cap FAQ. It's called CBAFAQ.com. You go over there and there's like 150 questions. It breaks down literally every aspect of the thing. I only got about 15 questions in, but they were talking about the poison pill provision. Have you guys ever heard of the poison pill provision?
It has to do with restricted free agency, right?
So they were talking about how the Celtics, I mean, they have enough pieces to get Harden, but essentially the poison pill provision was put in place along with the Gilbert Arenas rule to help give teams a chance to sign their players back. So let's say, like guys like Giannis, let's say Milwaukee did not have that much salary cap room, right? So somebody offers him a big contract. Well, Milwaukee wouldn't be able to match, so they would lose him even as a restricted free agent. So what they did was they made it match the mid-level tax paid exemption. That's the max you can offer a restricted free agent on the poison pill provision. It's really super deep and interesting, but I just thought it was absolutely crazy when we talk about trades and how you kind of have to really know this stuff nowadays. Yeah. It's flabbergasting how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Yeah. You can get those capologists.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, man.
It's all cap.
You got like 5 different mid-level exemptions. You have certain ones for different scales.
Right. It is crazy. One other thing I was going to mention about Harden is he may possibly, instead of going to Brooklyn, may end up going to Philly. And if that happens, they're going to have to get rid of Tobias if they don't get it done. I think Tobias is gone after this season if he doesn't get it done. So they're going to have to trade for some picks and maybe like another couple of shooters or role players or something like that. That's what I'm thinking. So if Harden does sign there with Philly, I think he has a better chance to win than if he goes to Brooklyn. Because if he goes to Brooklyn, I agree with you, Dan. It's a toxic place because none of those guys are really leaders. Like Kyrie's a wannabe leader. Kevin Durant's kind of like, I'm Kevin Durant.
I'm cool. I'm just chilling in the background.
I'll
get like
they're chest thumpers.
Easy.
They're chest thumpers. Like Kyrie, who's gonna get the ball in the last shot? Kyrie hated LeBron. He even threw shade on LeBron for, saying that he's never had anybody he could rely on at the end of games. Now he does with Kevin Durant, but at the same time, is when it comes down to it, they're all gonna want the ball. Especially, Harden has one of the highest usage rates in the league. Kyrie, isn't that far behind when he's healthy, and Durant, he wants his stuff. You know what I mean? That's why he left Golden State.
Right.
I just don't see it. 3 young, immature, very, very, very talented basketball players. Right. But the secret to winning, as Isaiah Thomas always said, is you have to have players who are willing to sacrifice for the greater good. That's literally the key to winning basketball. And you have to have guys that are looking out to get theirs. You have to want to do what's best for the team, and it's not always easy. I just can't see either one of those three doing it, especially once they get going.
Which is why the Durant, Kyrie right now is okay because they still have supporting players and Dinwiddie and LeVert who can still play. You know what I mean? And you have Harris supporting as well. And like I mentioned, Cabarro, Luari Cabarro, and Chiozo, and a couple of those other guys. But if you bring in Harden, you're going to have to move a lot of those guys, especially LeVert and Dinwiddie, because they're like, yo, we're not about to get passed up. So losing that is losing bench players, and you need a bench. Otherwise, you get too top heavy, which is what happened to the Warriors. The Warriors got too top heavy. Their bench went, and that's why over the years, even though they did win 2 championships in a row, you could see the writing on the wall. If somebody gets hurt, they're not gonna, they're probably.
That's what happens with championship teams. Is like you win. We saw the Lakers, and then whoever's a free agent gets paid somewhere else and goes somewhere else, and you start losing your bench and all the value you had there.
With the Lakers, it's funny because they actually got better, which is crazy.
Yeah,
it is crazy. And you look at the Spurs when they won their championships, they never kept the same team. Like somebody always.
Yeah.
But they just switched around the pieces. That's really all they did, which is amazing for that long that they were able to do that.
That's your GM right there. Your GM has to find the right pieces every time to put in the right spots and know what's needed for the team.
Although the one thing they never got, which I will argue to the day I die, is they never got a closer. Never had a closer, or else they would have 3-peated, or at least 2-peated.
Shout out to Manu. I still believe in you.
Have y'all guys broken down Kyrie a lot on the podcast? Have you guys talked about Kyrie
every day, bro? Every day.
Durant, every single day.
We have.
I must miss your alternative episodes.
Yeah, it's for Patreon only.
I get it. You tuned me out, huh?
We have a little bit.
One thing I was going to ask is why does he throw so much shade to LeBron?
So
he did it on Kevin Durant's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He did it again not too long ago. It seems like it's almost like he's posturing to try to. He doesn't want to give LeBron the respect of saying you're better than me.
Right.
But he's comfortable.
He doesn't believe
deferring
that.
to KD. Why is that?
So this is with Kyrie when they were in Cleveland, right? We all know LeBron, how good LeBron is, but at particular times it was tough to play with LeBron. It's not saying LeBron is a bad player, but literally we saw from the span of like the 2017 from the 2017 through the 2019 season, or the 2017 and the 2018 season, we saw guys have careers that just went. Like Rodney Hood was a good role player. He went. Derrick Rose, Dwayne Wade, they tried it. It didn't work out. Isaiah Thomas was trying to come back. You know what I mean? So with the whole Kyrie, he felt like he was better and had more to give, and he wanted his own team because he felt like he would always be, the second guy, be second fiddle to LeBron, right? So he's like, all right, I'm going to go to Boston. I'm going to have my own team. We're going to win this, that, the other. And they started off doing well. But then when he got hurt, these, ascension of Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, they started winning without him. Marcus Smart is getting his, game going on and crafting his game. And they go to the conference finals, almost beat LeBron and them, and ended up losing, right? Well, Kyrie comes back. Gordon Hayward comes back. That never really meshed well along with some of the other pieces. So they had chemistry problems along with Kyrie kind of like, oh, I want to come back. And it goes back on his word and ends up, you know what I'm saying? So now with Kyrie and Durant, Kyrie likes the fact that Durant's not really telling him what to do. Because LeBron, I think, would tell Kyrie what to do. And Kyrie's like, I'm my own man. I know what I need to do. You need, you know what I'm saying? So the fact that Durant's kind of just saying, do you, and
he wanted to coexist with someone, not be
not be the second fiddle, because he doesn't feel like he's second fiddle to Durant. He feels like they're equals. With LeBron, I think he felt like LeBron looked at him as a second fiddle. LeBron was trying to groom him to take over, but of course, LeBron's still going to get his. So that's really what it is with Kyrie. It's a guy who tried to step out and lead too early and wasn't ready for it, and is now taking the hard hits of. I mean, he's still a great player. Don't get me wrong, but he's not where he could have been had he just kind of stayed with LeBron. So that's my whole take on it. Greg may
It's
have
the mentality of greatness you've got to have. The Kobe's, the Jordans, they felt they were the best player on the court at all times, and they always wanted to prove that. And I think Kyrie felt like, just like Kobe felt with Shaq, that he could not prove it with that player the more dominant player getting the accolades and everything. So he wanted to prove to himself, not to himself, because he already knew. He wanted to prove to everybody how great he is. And that's his mindset at all times.
Which is cool. And that's respectful. I love that mindset. I love that. He wanted to be the best. But we also say that Pippen was pretty damn great, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Pippen's regarded as, well, I know at least 10 years ago, he was one of the top 50 players of all time, maybe not anymore. He's up there. But, I mean, it takes a lot of humility and a lot of talent to be a Pippen, to always be there, to be that reliable guy. You know, people bring up Jordan almost all the time, but I've very rarely ever had a conversation about Jordan without somebody ever bringing up Pippen.
Right.
Just like Kobe and Shaq, regardless of if Kobe wanted it to be his team, it took another, Pau Gasol to come along in order for him to win the championship. And I think he kind of learned, and he talked about it. Rest in peace to the Mamba. Before he passed, he talked about, why he did it and why it was kind of a youthful thing, right? It's kind of a lot of people have done it over the years. A lot of stars.
Right.
But Kyrie's kind of taking it to another level.
He is. I mean, if you recall, Kyrie in the Team USA camp, or was that 2015? I think it was 2016, something like that. No, it was before. Actually, might have been before that. It might have been 2013, 2014, something like that. And he was like, "Yo, Kobe, I can beat you one-on-one," and he always had that confidence in himself, like, I can beat him one-on-one. Like, I'm up there. I'm that type of guy. Number 1 pick overall. Only played 10 games. The dude came out, even though they didn't do anything at Cleveland. It wasn't until LeBron and Kevin Love came back that Cleveland became relevant, But Kyrie just felt like, when they came back that first year, they feel like they could have won had he not gotten hurt and Love not gotten hurt. And then, of course, hit that big shot against the Warriors and, ended up pushing Cleveland to win. And then after that following year, there was just that butting ahead. I think they ended up getting like the 4th seed or something like that. It was something low, and then ended up beating Toronto, then got swept by the Warriors that year. I mean, it was just.
He also views his game as like an artist would. And he does, like Marshall hit on it. He didn't like the structure that LeBron had formed around him and kind of constricted what he felt was his full game.
Right.
So he's like, I want to be an artist. I want to be free. I want to be able to paint and draw and show my artistry off. I don't want to be constrained and have to do these certain things and be like this when I just want to let the world see my game, my full game.
And which is quite, when you talk about, like, Marshall, you brought it up about what he wanted to prove and how he talks about this. Like, it reminds me a lot of me. I say the same type of stuff, when I tell people what I want to do for a living. Like, I'm almost like trying to, like, you have to say some wild stuff in order to believe you're the best. You know what I mean? But at some point, you kind of have to put up or shut up. And Greg, same thing. Yeah, he is an artist. He's a dribbling god, but he is not the player that he could have been with that path. So, is it a youthful thing? And I'm sorry to keep pushing this. This is just an interesting conversation. Is it more of a youthful thing to think that you need to be able to shine like this, and that the old guys, oh no, I don't want to fit into a system. I want to do my own thing. And then later on, once you get a little bit older, you kind of realize, hey, that what he was doing is actually what works. It's what worked for the Spurs. It's what worked for the Lakers, the Bulls, you name it, championship teams here on out. it's, you know what I mean? It's, do you want to be do you want to win championships, or do you want to just be known as an individually great player? Because if you want to be known as an individually great player, cool, awesome. There's many good, really, really good basketball players that have came through the ranks, but it sounds like he wants to win championships, and it sounds like he wants that recognition to say he led his team to a championship by himself or with a Kevin Durant or whatever. It's the same thing though.
Go ahead, Greg. Because
I was gonna say they don't think of it as either or. They think of it, if I'm my greatest I can be, I can win a championship. They put them both together. It's not either or in their mind. Like Kobe Jordan, they thought if I was the absolute best I could be, and they put this regular players around me, I can win a championship.
But they didn't. Neither one of them did.
They don't have that self-awareness, that greatness that you need to have. That you don't have self-awareness. It's almost delusional on how great you think you are. But
you get it when you're older, right? Kobe got it when he kind of realized, Paul, and even Jordan got it when he realized he needed Pippen. When he really started relying on Pippen, he started to defer to him a little bit in terms of being more trustworthy with him, right, and not trying to do everything himself.
Right. Yeah. So this is what I think, guys, too, is if you have a guy that is in his physical prime, right, and you're still kind of up and coming, about to enter, you know what I'm saying, some of your better years, you want to be able to be like, I'm about to shine, like you start getting hot, start putting down some of them 30-point games, you're like, and you see it, maybe the older guy may have a couple of struggles here and there, whatnot, numbers may dip a little bit. You're like, well, shoots. If I feel like we're losing because so-and-so, maybe taking a couple more shots and he's not making them, but I'm making them, I'm gonna be like, well, shit, I'm right here, I like this should be my team, right? But at the end of the day, by you doing that, it's not working. It hasn't worked, Case in point of what you mentioned about the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq. Kobe would get on Shaq, this, that, the other. They end up having a lot of beef. Ended up losing to the Spurs in the conference finals in 2003. Also, Shaq was hurt too, but I mean, the Spurs, they weren't supposed to beat the Lakers that year. You know what I mean? The Lakers were supposed to be that team that was supposed to go on and on forever. Then they come back, get Malone, get Peyton, have formed this real super team, and the Spurs almost beat them, right? So Derek Fisher saved them because Derek Fisher really
Kobe 4 seconds.
Yeah, Kobe didn't win a championship without Derek Fisher. People got to realize that. Like, Derek Fisher should be in the Hall of Fame. As weird as it sounds, Derek Fisher should be in the Hall of Fame.
Derek Fisher hit the 0.4-second shot. Robert Horry hit the shot against, I believe, was it the Kings or was it the Spurs?
The Sacramento.
It was Sacramento, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, having said that, they end up going and they end up losing to Detroit. Of course, Malone got hurt, but he's already older anyway. There's a discussion, had he not been hurt, could they have won? This is a discussion there. Now, in the case of the Kyrie LeBron situation, right? They're in the East, which is already seen as the weaker conference, and for quite a while has been seen as the weaker conference. They did make it to the finals, but they weren't the number one overall favorites. You feel me? If the team was a number one overall favorite and like they're the number one seed, like nobody's beating them, this, that, they're the clear cut, I don't think Kyrie would have had a problem if they were winning games like they should have. But the fact that they were like the second, the third seed, I think the fourth seed one year, they weren't the number one overall seed. He was kind of like, well, shoots, I could be the man, this, that, the other. On top of what was happening in the West Coast with the Warriors stacked up with Durant and them. Before that, OKC was stacked up with Durant and them. You had the Spurs. They went back and forth with the Spurs sometimes with Kawhi and Aldridge and, little team the Spurs had. So there was a few teams that were better than that Cavaliers teams, not just, in the East, they proved they were the best, right? But regular season record-wise, they didn't. So that's why I think, too, Kyrie was just like, all right, I can be the man, blah, 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 blah. That's what I think.
I just think relationship.
It's a pride thing.
Yeah. I think there's always an expiration date. I think there was always going to be an expiration with Shaq and Kobe. I think there was always going to be an expiration date with LeBron and Kyrie. Right. I just think when you have that personality, you want to prove that you're the best, you're going to have to jump out and want to prove it.
Right. And also you have to think of that too, that LeBron is like you would have expected. A lot of people would have expected LeBron to kind of take a dip, but LeBron has been LeBron. Like, dude has been averaging 20 something plus with a bunch of assists and a bunch of rebounds. You know what I mean? Like, guys normally in that have been playing that long, that have come in the league at 18 years old, fizzle out at a particular point. He hasn't yet.
Yeah.
So that too was probably, Kyrie was expecting him to kind of take back because he was already getting older. He was already in his 30s.
Yeah.
So
also LeBron's skill set. I've seen there's a lot of argument on Twitter and stuff about, is LeBron really skilled, or is it that he's 6'9", 260, like that runs like a 4.5? Is he just a freak athlete? This is able to bully people and get to the rim. Like what? I mean, Kyrie probably looks at it and says, I can handle the ball better than him. My right and left hand are better. My shooting is better. Like, why am I not getting that considered the best player on the team?
Yeah, exactly. Because LeBron, people don't think LeBron is clutch. And it's like, you look at it, and LeBron is very clutch. Like, clutchness isn't just about hitting the last second shot. It's not about, who can hit the 3-pointer or whatever. I mean, LeBron is taking it into the paint and won games off of layups. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's clutch. Am I right or wrong? Because guys can go in and miss layups.
Absolutely.
But that's clutch. When it comes to Kyrie, he's thinking, I want the ball, last second shot of the game, because most of the time it's going to be a 3-pointer. So he's like, I can hit that shot. LeBron can't hit that shot, whatever. Or if LeBron gets in, he's going to take a fadeaway jump shot and he's not going to make it. There was probably times that Kyrie was thinking that, because there was some times we're like,
well, he said as much in his podcast. He said they were talking about that.
Yeah, exactly.
That I didn't, basically, essentially, that he didn't trust LeBron taking the last shot. He never had a guy that he could trust taking the last shot other than him.
Right.
And I thought it was, a little bit of a insecurity thing coming out of him. I don't know, man.
It was a jab.
It was. I mean, I just think, I guess my whole point with this is, and Greg, we were kind of talking about, he is a little mature. He's growing up, but he's still in that immature phase where I could take over the world all by myself, and I have to do this, which we all are when we're young, right? That's just what great people like that are. But there comes a point where you have to take that other path. And like you said, Kobe did it. Jordan ended up doing it. My question is, will Kyrie do it? Because it doesn't sound like he's really learning from his past right now. Regardless if you think he should be learning from anything or not, I think he's kind of acting. He's going a little bit more off in a direction of kind of like playing into it. Like to me, I don't know.
We'll see, because remember, Kobe didn't win his first year that he got Gasol, right?
It took him 2 years? They lost the Celtics Game 7, but I can't remember if that was the first year with Gasol.
I think that was the first year with Gasol, and then they ended up winning the next year over the Magic, and then they beat the Celtics in a revenge series, and that was
so. It's been 5 years.
The Celtics was 6 games the first year.
Yeah, so it's been 5 years since Kyrie and LeBron won that title together. So he's had it. I mean, and he's been on teams that have all been favorites, except he's been injured a lot, or the teams have been injured a lot. So bad luck. This year, let's see what happens.
Yeah, it is in the media capital of the world, in Brooklyn, New York. You know what I mean? They haven't had. You got to think that nothing good has come for basketball in New York in years. So this is the opportunity, and I wish we had Brooklyn here himself to talk about this.
Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at?
Oh well, but off of the jabs, let's talk about the UFC 256.
I'm still shaking over that fight, man. So, little quick recap before we get into the fight recap.
Right now,
I'm watching this fight, right? Amazing main event, one of the top 10 fights I've ever seen in the UFC. If it's number 10, it's in the top 3 as well. And I text my good friend Marshall. I'm like, Marshall, are you watching this right now? You got to watch this. This is amazing. Nah, man, I'm not watching it. I wanted somebody to share it with because it was that special. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm sorry. I'm sad that you missed it, Marshall, because it was amazing.
I did. I was watching Saturday Night Live, people, with my mom. I spent some time.
Hey, you know what? Family time more important.
Holiday season.
holiday season. So before we get into Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno, though, the co-main event was pretty cool. The whole card, top to bottom, features some pretty good matchups. You had your veterans who kind of are on the way out. Got KO. Junior Dos Santos got TKO by Cyril Gane, and then Jacare. Yep, 10-0. Yep, he's on the come up. And then Kevin Holland, just a couple years removed from his Contender Series kind of forgettable, couple forgettable performances. He's put himself right in the middle of the title picture at middleweight. Those were kind of expected fights. They kind of ran through them. Mackenzie Dern, good job fighting, good job on beating Verna Johnny Robot. But the last two fights were the absolute best. Charles Dobrox Oliveira and Tony Ferguson. Now, you did watch the Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje fight last time, correct, Marshall?
We did.
Charles Oliveira beat him up worse than Justin Gaethje did.
Mm-hmm. I said the replay.
I don't know if Charles Oliveira has been eating his Wheaties or what, but he's made a career resurgence, man. He was almost kicked out of the UFC, or he was almost on the verge of being dropped from the UFC about 3 years ago. He had lost four fights in 6 appearances. And then he rattles off wins. He gets a couple veterans. He beat Clay Guida, Jim Miller, guys who were on their way out. But then his last 2 fights, he submits Kevin Lee, and then he absolutely destroys Tony Ferguson. And he has now cemented his status there in shooting for a title shot at lightweight. This guy's got everything, man. He looks fantastic. I would love to see Dobronx up against Khabib. And I know a lot of people have been talking about that fight, saying that they wish it could happen because Oliveira has a very interesting style, different than Gaethje's, but he's solid everywhere. He's got great submission game, which a lot of the fighters that Khabib fought, really nobody had a great submission game.
Question for you.
Apart from Dos Anjos. What's that?
So Oliveira was ranked. He was ranked what in the lightweight division?
Before the fight,
yes,
I want to say he was 7.
7, and Ferguson was like 4th or 5th or something like that.
Ferguson, I'm pretty sure he only dropped to 3.
Oh, he only dropped to 3. Okay.
Let me check out these rankings real quick because I'm not too up on the rankings all the time. It's more because Dana White does what he wants. So it's like, if you don't care about the rankings, Dana, then why should we?
Right. I know Poirier and McGregor are about to fight. McGregor's sitting at, I believe, 4 right now. And Poirier is at the number 1 contender, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so let's look at it as of after last week. So Khabib is still on there.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier.
So Gaethje's the number 1 contender then. Still.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Oliveira jumped up 4 spots. He was at 7. Now he's at 3. Tony Ferguson dropped from 3 to 4, and Conor McGregor is at 5.
So Conor McGregor's at 5, and he's getting that title shot in January.
I don't think it's for the title.
Him and Poirier? Yeah, I think that's not for the title.
It's not for the title. No, it's essentially a title eliminator. So essentially, they're having a 4-man tournament for the title. Now you got Justin Gaethje in there. So either Charles Oliveira or Tony Ferguson. That was also kind of an eliminator. Okay. And then you also have all dude that came over from Bellator. His name is escaping me right now, but he's Michael Chandler. They brought him. He was the substitute for the Gaethje and Khabib fight. Most people have not seen him fight. He is a killer. He deserves to be up there. So the lightweight division, now that Khabib is gone and Conor is back, there's a lot of guys out here. I don't know who's going to get that title shot. Conor is going to if he wins because
Poirier. Which he's beaten Poirier before. I don't know if he's going to get him again. We'll discuss that later.
I was going to say one sentence. But here's what I think that they do. I think they give Justin Gaethje and Charles Oliveira. I think they put that fight together. Winner of that fight's the winner of Conor McGregor
Poirier.
and Poirier, and
Okay.
then probably the next up for the title would be Michael Chandler. After that, I think he needs one more fight because he hasn't fought in a little while, so he needs like a fight.
Now, on Tony Ferguson, this was his second straight loss. Am I correct?
Second straight loss. Only he had a 12-fight winning streak, the longest winning streak in the UFC at the time. I believe he hadn't lost in like 5 years.
Right.
All of a sudden, he looks a little over the hill.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. The Gaethje fight. Remember, when we watched that one, and we were just like, "Dang, he got beat the heck up." Like they had to stop that because, as Daniel and I remember when we were discussing, Daniel was just like, "Yeah, there's no way Gaethje's gonna, end up, beating Ferguson. Ferguson's gonna get him. He's gonna have a shot against, Khabib. Da da da." I'm like, "Man, this dude Gaethje, he's something now. Watch out!" And sure enough, beat him up. Now Oliveira came in and just dismantled him worse than what Gaethje did.
It was absolutely. He made him look like a rank amateur. I mean, 36 years old. He's been fighting for a dozen years plus. He's had, I believe, 40 plus MMA fights. Mm-hmm. He has a style where basically he just blocks your punches with his face and takes as much damage as he possibly could and then defeats you, right? He's probably hit his limit in terms of he's just so beat up. He doesn't have anything left in the tank. All fighters go through it after a while. Look at Anderson Silva, who recently just retired. That's why I'm glad Khabib retired on top, so we didn't have to see his decline. But I think we are seeing the decline of
Cejudo.
Cejudo too, but he'll come back. Cejudo's been talking a lot of smack, especially now that the 125-pound division is relevant again, and Peter Yan is doing big things at 135. Yes. He's coming back.
We'll see.
Mark that. He'll come back by the end of 2021.
Okay. We're putting that as a Danny Dime.
Hey, I'm usually wrong, but sometimes I'm right. But yeah, so interesting stuff about weight division, but moving on to the lighter weight class. I'm just gonna go right over that. You know what? Not even blinking.
Dang. Go ahead.
All right, so we got to go on to one of the best fights that I've ever seen, my man. Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno. So Figueiredo took over the title after your boy dropped it. And he looked pretty good. He looked like he was going to hold on to the title for a little while. The dude punches hard. He's 125 pounds. He's a bigger flyweight. So he had a lot of trouble with his weight cut. There was definitely a lot of stuff out there on Twitter about how, he had a lot of struggles with his weight cut, but the dude hits like a Mack truck. And Mr. Brandon Moreno, Mexican fighter from Mexico, showed why those fighters have such a legacy of being great fighters, because they can take lots and lots of damage and they keep coming at. And that's exactly what Brandon Moreno did this fight. He took some heavy shots early. First round, he lost. It wasn't really too wild. He couldn't really find his range. Second round is where things started to really, really open up. I think he kind of found his rhythm. He found that, hey, I could take his shots, but the thing is, Figueiredo was moving forward the entire time. So Moreno was always constantly have to counter strike. He was having to absorb those punches and use a lot of energy to get off of the cage and to get back into the center of the cage and throw those counters while getting hit at the same time. Eventually, it started to, I think, wear on Figueiredo a little bit. He started to figure him out because in the third round, Figueiredo figured his only strategy was to kick Brandon Moreno right where he doesn't ever want to be kicked. Right. Did you guys see the replay on that?
Yes.
Third round midsection kick. That was one of the nastiest low blows I've ever seen. Even Joe Rogan was kind of wondering if the fight was going to be stopped. You heard
that was bad.
You heard the sound effects of it. He was kneeling over. He said at one point, I think he said, "I might throw up." He thought the fight was going to be stopped. He comes back. Brilliant third
Big
round.
nuggets.
Basically, they took a point. The point deduction in the third round really made the whole entire difference because the judges scored it majority draw for basically the champion retains his crown, right? So if that did not happen, then it would have been a unanimous decision for Figueiredo. Basically, one judge had it 4 rounds to 1 for Figueiredo.
So my question to you, because I that's one thing I was trying to understand, a majority draw, because I saw it was 47, 47, 47, 47, 48, 46. I
48,
thought that
46, yes.
was right. So I'm just like, okay, wouldn't that still be a split decision?
No, because it's 2 to 1, right? And so it's basically they're saying like, hey, even though one judge scored it for a fighter, you have 2 other ones who scored it the other way. Think about it as, okay, it's basically like 2 judges scoring for this fighter and 1 judge scoring for the other fighter. It's still majority either way, right?
Right.
So this one, they outranked it and they basically said, okay, you have 3 options in a fight: fighter A, fighter B, or equal, right? So you're basically casting your vote for whichever of the 3. So essentially, it's like they said, okay, cool, no, it's a draw. We cast our vote for that, and because they had the majority,
So
no matter if he got that other
Should have
scorecard.
gone to overtime or sudden death.
You know what, man? I would have loved to see it. I want to see round 6 through 10. Moreno was pretty beat up by the end of that. I mean, the dude took some shots. I think his forearm was even broken towards the end of that. Joe Rogan was asking him at the last round. He couldn't throw his left. He was basically fighting off of pure adrenaline, and I think he said something, either it was his shoulder or it was his forearm, that he either broke or separated, and he fought the entire 5th round like that. And I thought he won 3 rounds too. In a normal fight, without the point deduction, I would have still had Moreno winning.
so
But-
what sorry, I was gonna say, so what happens if they get a unanimous draw?
So if all 3 judges
Yes.
score the draw, then it's just the champion retains.
So
to get the belt, you have to beat the champ, right?
so then
No matter what.
if it's so even if it's a majority draw the other way, say Moreno would have had 2 judges.
He still wouldn't be champion.
That's still kind of jacked up. Shoot. I understand like it's a 2 to 1, for a draw, but I'm just like, if one judge says, hey, you win, it's just like, all right, you tied, it's 2 to 2. If the other one, if you win the third one, it's 3 to 2. So for me, that's why I'm just like, yo, it should have been a decision. I don't like that draw thing. I know this goes way beyond my knowledge of UFC. Me personally, I thought that Figueiredo won the fight. I understand, that took the point deduction away. He would have won, but I still think he won regardless, even with the draw, even though it's called a majority draw, which I just find weird. But
It's happened in Boston too. And if Pernell Whitaker and Julio Cesar Chavez, they fought to a majority draw in their first fight back in the early 90s. It's super frustrating for fighters because you say, hey, they saw it my way. Why don't I get it? But that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But I don't know, man. The one judge that did see it for Figueiredo essentially had it 4 rounds to 1 for him, and he had the second round for Figueiredo when everybody else pretty much had Moreno winning that second round. So I don't know what he was watching. I don't know if those power shots and the advanced forward movement that Figueiredo was putting out, because he was putting out a lot of pressure, but it's easy to miss the counters and it's easy to miss, the little shots that Moreno was kind of hitting him with. And he had some fantastic, there was some really good ground action. That's why I like these 125ers, because they showed, hey, they do have power. They can put on exciting fights. They are just little tiny guys who are really, really fast, but they're also super agile. So man, you get those that ground game going, and these guys just go back and forth, man, just slip out, counters, and it's fun to watch. And I'm so glad that the 125 division finally took off. And we have, people excited about it and wanting to see this rematch because of what these two guys put on. And that's what fighting is all about.
Right.
It's all about going out there, proving something to yourself, putting yourself all on the line. And both of these guys did that absolutely tremendously this weekend. Applaud to both of them. I know that recovery is not going to be fun this week. They're probably hurting. But that fight will be replayed in the UFC Hall of Fame for decades to come, hopefully.
Absolutely. Greg, the last word is yours.
Said it all.
Absolutely. Now, moving forward, DG, what's next, Cut Man?
Ooh, what's next? Well, we got boxing going on this week. We got two of the top fighters in the world. Triple G is fighting on Friday. And Canelo is fighting out here in our hometown, San Antonio, on Saturday for a war.
Satan getting a lot of fights right
They've
now.
had it. This is their second big fight in 3 months.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. I wish I was able to actually go to the event. That'd be really cool to see.
The Alamo.
Remember the Alamo, baby. So Triple G, again, Golovkin is fighting Camille Cermeda. Is basically just a mandatory title defense of his IBF title. And then the real treat, that'll be on Friday night. And then the real treat is going to be Canelo versus Callum Smith. With Smith, Canelo's moving up in weight to fight Smith for his super middleweight title. That's going to be an interesting fight. What do you think, Marshall? I know you're a pretty big fan of Canelo.
Right. Canelo has been looking nice. This is like what, the third time that he's moved up in weight?
The fourth, I believe.
Fourth time? Yeah.
I think
he's moved up. I thought it was 3 times, 4 times. I don't know how he'll do, particularly because this is what, another 3 to 5 pounds that he's moving up.
I believe actually, I think he fought heavier in his last. He's actually going down for this one.
So he
won the light heavyweight title against Sergey Kovalov his last fight.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which was at one. It's a little bit different than MMA. MMA is 205 for light heavyweight, and I think boxing is 168. And so I think he's fighting at 160.
Oh, he's at 160? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it was. So he's won a world title in 4 different weight classes. His last one was the light heavyweight bout, which was at 168, and he's dropping back down to super middleweight at 160 for this fight.
And I think he's actually been his best at 160, if I'm not mistaken. Like some of his better fights was at 160, because he fought Triple G at what? It was 160. What, 160?
I believe it was at 150. I thought it was at 158 or 156, wasn't it?
Was it at 158?
It was some of the boxing weight classes are super weird. I never know if it's like they go by 6s or 8s, but I believe it was in the high 150s.
Okay.
I'm Googling it right now just to make sure, because I gotta check my stats. They fought at for the middleweight title.
Okay, for the middleweight title.
Yeah, so middleweight is fought at 155.
155.
Wait, let's see.
So
see, this is why boxing has gone downhill, ladies and gentlemen, because there's too many weight classes. Nobody knows what weights they fight at. Nobody knows all the different. They have a light, middle, and super for every single weight class. It's ridiculous.
Now, I think that Canelo will probably win. You even had Callum Smith say Canelo is a better 160 fighter than he is at 168, because he's going to be quicker. He's still going to have the power there. I think Canelo wins this fight, man.
So they did fight at 160. You're right, Marshall. Him and Triple G.
They did fight at 160. That's what I'm saying. He had
this is his best weight class.
Yeah, he had his better fights at 160. So I think he will definitely he'll definitely win this fight.
I I mean, Callum Smith just really hasn't fought anybody, right, on the level of Canelo. He's fought a lot of guys out there in England, but this is his really first big test in his career, and I just don't think he's ready for the moment.
This is kind of
the best he's ever been.
This is gonna kind of be like Terrence Crawford versus Kell Brook fight.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna be something
exactly.
Similar. Now, also this past weekend we had Anthony Joshua.
Anthony Joshua getting the knockout over his mandatory challenger, which sets up now a potential date with Tyson Fury, I should say, because we all know in boxing that is probably not going to happen. Anything you get your hopes up for.
Bruh.
It's. But I don't know, man.
Right. Because if anything, that's one of the fights we want to see in 2021. We also want to see Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. fight as well. So those are two big fights that boxing could make in the new year that would really, really get you some numbers, especially got a COVID vaccine coming out. Stuff is going to start opening up. You imagine if you have both of those fights towards the end of the year when stuff can be held, man.
Those are going to be some huge fights if and when they happen, and I hope they do. I think the Crawford and Errol Spence fight has a lot better chance of happening than Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua, because it looks like Deontay Wilder might end up getting that immediate rematch that he wants. So we might have to wait a little bit longer for that. But he's taking him to the court right now, so we'll see what happens. And it doesn't seem like Tyson Fury is in a hurry to get back into the ring anytime soon right now.
No.
But big boxing matches on the horizon. A lot of good stars came out this year. This was a really good year in boxing. We're almost towards the end of the year. Maybe we should do a year review, look back at the year that was in a couple of weeks. But and then we also got. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to bring up the next big fight in the MMA world in a couple of weeks.
Yes, please do. And then I do want to ask you one particular question about boxing. While you look that up, unless you already have it.
Oh no, I'm just messing around. I'm seeing the other fights.
So my question to you would be about the Charlo brothers, Jermell and
okay,
right? Jermell holds 3 of the 4 junior middleweight titles at 154. Patrick Teixeira holds the 4th one, and then Jamal holds the 160 WBC title. It's like there's 4 different champions in the middleweight class. Like you got Demetrius Andrade at the WBO champion, Triple G at the IBF, the WBA is Canelo Alvarez, and WBC is Jamal Charlo.
Plus, you have 2 to 3 champions in each of those promotions. So if you have the WBO, they have a WBO. I believe it's European. Then they have a regular title, and then if it's a person like Canelo, who I think you have to have 3 straight defenses, you get what's called a super or a universal title or something like that. It's called basically elevates that. And then somebody else takes the regular middleweight title.
Right. So, like, also, I was going to mention, also at that 160, we have Ryota Murata. He's the WBA regular middleweight champion. And then Chris Eubank Jr. is the WBA interim middleweight champion. Canelo Alvarez is also the WBC franchise champion. There's so many things.
That's what it is. It's the franchise.
So many things.
So Canelo Alvarez, if he wins,
franchise boys,
he gets the franchise champion. And then somebody else fights for the vacant regular championship. He doesn't keep both belts. So, yeah, it's confusing as heck, right? Now you know why there's so many people who have world titles who are, 31-0 or 28-0 and have these godly records but haven't fought anybody.
Right. So my question to you is for the Charlo brothers, right? Do we see one of them start to move up? Because I think Jermell is undefeated and Jamal just lost. He's only lost.
He lost on national TV, right? It was it last year or 2 years ago?
Yeah.
They had that showcase.
Yes.
Yeah, it was against Tony Harrison in 2018. They had the showcase at the Barclays Center.
Yep, Tony Harrison and Jermell. I mean, he's still killing it, but he's at a lower rank. He's at a lower weight class than his brother, and I don't really see anybody doing anything in the junior middleweight, honestly. So does Jermell try to move up? And do we see him and his brother try to take over the 160, or does he stay? What do you think? Because they are gifted fighters, that is for sure.
I think we're probably gonna see Jamal move up a little bit quicker. I mean, he's undefeated.
I mean, he's in the 160 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or
He's
Jamal's
160, but he's got 4 title belts. His brother Jamal.
Yeah, Jamal.
And
three of them.
He just 3 of them. So I believe he's in the process of setting up another fight too. He has to do a mandatory challenge of that. I think both of them will eventually move up here in the next year. I think Jamal has a higher ceiling, even though he lost. He just seems like a more fluid boxer to me.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was a interesting decision as well. But I think he has more skills. I think he is a little bit better of a fighter, but they're getting up there. They're both Jamal is they're both 30 years old at this point.
Right.
And they have not really gotten into the pay-per-view era, right? And this is where we talk about when I say like there's stars and there's superstars, right? Because we got like even Triple G, he didn't get into pay-per-view boxing until he was in his 32, 33 he was when he fought Canelo. So I just don't know. I mean, okay, Jamal's getting to 160 now. Hey, the fight to make.
Right.
Have him fight Canelo. That would be a huge fight. That would help to build Charlo's name, get him out there. And I honestly think it would be a very competitive fight. I don't think Charlo would win.
Let's do it. Let's book it right now, baby.
Yeah. Right now. In the backyard. Let's go.
I agree. I agree. I think they should.
Because if you look at the records, I mean, they really haven't fought too many big names. The last guy can't even Sergey Derevyanenko at the Mohegan Sun. I mean, he's had now 3 straight defenses of his middleweight title.
Mm-hmm.
Does Canelo look to take all the belts in that division and unify it? It all depends on his promoter. And see, that's the other thing with boxing is rival promoters.
Right. That'd definitely be
definitely
be interesting moving forward. Like they have some material, they have some fighters to work with. Can they stop messing around and just do it? That's all I'm asking.
There's a lot of good fights to be made, but between the promoters, the fighters, even the WBC and all those guys, they have their own mandatory champions. There's so much politics to go on. So
Top Rank
fans.
What's the other one? Top Rank and
Top Rank. De La Hoya's one. Money Mayweather has a promotion ring.
Say it again, Drake.
Bob Arum is Top Rank. Right. Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya.
Right. And because I know there was a possible bump in the road between making that fight between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, because I think Terrence is in with Top Rank or one of the other ones. I can't remember. He's trying to get out of his contract to be able to say, all right, we can make this fight happen. Otherwise, it won't be able to happen. So we'll see.
And that's why I think it has a little bit more of an opportunity to happen, because he's willing to actually go and try to get with the promoter that will make that fight. A lot of boxers, they just stay with the promoter and say, oh, well, I can't do anything about it.
Yep. Like Floyd Mayweather. Anyway,
that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day.
Yes. Cut Man, we thank you for being on the show with us. I know you gotta take off. Oh, actually, before you go, let me just add happiness for you, because the Bengals got smacked. And you're
Why did I think I was going to be able to get out of this podcast without you bringing that up?
No, Bengals got 30-7 against their old QB Andy Dalton. He had 2 touchdowns. Yeah, like 270 yards, something small.
So you say that like it's a mundane performance, Marsh.
Say it again.
It was.
I said you say that like it was a mundane performance. Were you not impressed by the Red Rifles' performance this past Sunday?
No, this one this season.
Oh no.
He got the dub, 31 points. He actually made the Cowboys look like a semi-decent team.
Shout out to what was it? 3 fumbles.
Yeah.
In the first 2 drives.
Looking like the
I mean,
Cowboys out there.
I'm a huge Bengals fan, but I was rooting for them to even lose this game. I'm all in on the Penn Sewell sweepstakes. Let's get that number 3 pick. Let's get a left tackle or a generational left tackle talent and help save Joe Burrow's career. And I'll let the Cowboys have a little bit extra win. Good for Andy Dalton. I like that he was able to get a win against his former team for the way that they did him. He was never appreciated the way he should have been in Cincinnati, I believe, especially on the way out. So good for him. I was happy to see that. There's no salt at all, except salty tears for that our head coach isn't fired yet.
Yeah. I mean, y'all had Marvin Lewis needs to be fired. Yeah, Stephen A. Smith used to say 15 years and hasn't won a playoff game, he's fired.
Well, I mean, it's funny how those two franchises kind of mirrored each other for the longest time, right? Because Cowboys, same way. They have 2 of the longest tenured coaches in the NFL.
Yeah.
Couldn't win a playoff game. Talented rosters, some of the best players, biggest playmakers at their position, and they just could not do it. But at the point now, you're even seeing with Cowboys, is McCarthy the answer?
Hell no. Terrible hire. Terrible.
Continue, but probably not.
Needs to be fired. I mean,
so that's the thing. Was it Jason Garrett? Was it not? Was it Marvin Lewis? Was it not? Or is that just the luck of the draw sometimes?
There's not that many great coaches in the league, to be honest with you.
Jerry Jones needs to be fired. I'm sorry.
which is really amazing to think about, right? When you think about, okay, great coaches versus coaches that are below average but still have 1 in 32 jobs in the entire world. How is that possible? How is it possible that is such a hard job, just like the quarterback position, that there was only a handful of people alive who can do it at a even, in above average clip? You know what I mean? It's amazing how hard.
About who you know, really.
It's true.
Yeah, but you can get in there and then look at our coach. I mean, he came from the Rams, big old pedigree, all of that good stuff. Had all these, wonder kid, young coach, all these technological things, and look who he is.
It's a copy league. They just look at McVay. The McVays are doing hot. Let's just do that. We'll get a young coach that knows that kind of formula and try that. Just throwing darts at the wall. I don't really know.
I mean, Belichick's coaching tree is a mile long at this point with all the coaches he's had to get head coaching positions in the NFL.
Yeah.
Doesn't always guarantee that they're going to pan out.
You just got to hit on the best coach and the best quarterback. And that's like to do it at the same time. That's
so simple, right?
So simple, but so hard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Belichick's coaching tree. Look, Bill O'Brien fired.
Romeo
The guy
Crennel
who just got fired from the Lions, Patricia,
he was terrible.
Fired. Yep, he was. Was Brian Flores under Belichick?
Yeah, I think so.
I think Brian Flores was. He's actually doing a good job.
Yeah,
Miami's
Miami.
relevant. Joe Judge, he's actually doing a good job. It's their offense that is just terrible. That's because you hired Jason Garrett.
Yeah. I was like, what were y'all thinking?
Yeah, we don't know what they were
Why did
thinking.
you think that would be a good idea?
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Good job on the Cowboys. You guys have a chance in that division? Can you still make the playoffs?
I hope.
They'd have to
2
win
games out with 2 games to play, right?
3 games to play. They'd have to win every single game and have Washington lose every single game.
Which is possible.
Y'all don't play Washington.
I don't want it to happen.
No, Washington beat the Cowboys twice this season. Washington's next game is against Seattle, and then they close the season out against the Eagles, and I think they play the Cardinals as well. So I mean,
I gotta see if Alex Smith he was hurt, but I don't know how hurt he is. I don't know if they start Haskins.
So I mean, it's possible. Granted, Washington really won with defense anyway, but if their defense gets broken through, I expect Seattle to beat them next week. I do. It's possible that they could end up losing. Look how Jalen Hurts is rolling. I mean, if Philly ends up, say, because Philly does play the Cowboys, and say the Cowboys beat San Francisco next week, then they go in, they beat Philly the following week, and then they have that last game against the Giants, which I still think is going to be for the NFC Championship. Like, it's going to be winner go home against the Giants. I have a really odd feeling that the Cowboys will be on this high. It's like, oh my gosh, they have a chance to win the division. And then they just flounder and lose to the Giants. That's what's going to happen. And Stephen A. Smith is going to come on air next day. He's going to post all over social media. He's going to turn just like this. Hold on, let me do it. Let me do a Stephen A.
Oh, bedroom tour.
He's going to do that BS, and it's going to piss me off. But I'm just going to say, I told y'all so. And I knocked my speaker down. That's what y'all heard with that big thud. Anywho, that's what's going to happen. Did we lose Daniel?
I just wanted the third pick, man. I just wanted to lose to the Bengals. Why can't we do anything right?
Oh, were you making fun of me?
No, I said you.
Oh, you were
pick away
making
from
fun
us.
of the Cowboys. Good, I'm glad.
I really
You
wanted
guys
the
didn't
third
deserve
pick
it.
because we have so many holes. So I like to trade out of it and get picks.
You guys have one of the, what was it not 5 years ago? You guys had the best offensive line in the league.
And we wasted it, bro. We wasted it.
We wasted Des Bryant's career. We wasted DeMarco Murray's career. We're wasting Dak's career.
Wasted Tony Romo's career.
Nah, Tony Romo.
Only wrong with the God.
Tony Romo's my boy, man. Best sports announcer of all time.
Yeah, no, he knows football. That's for sure.
He just found out. He just knew everything too late. The time he got everything going, he just got injured and just done.
That's what I was just trying to teach Kyrie, man. I was trying to drop a little knowledge.
That's the problem, though. You sometimes you learn everything
late.
and become self-aware at the worst times when injuries or father time takes over.
Yep.
Yeah, and Tony Romo wasn't clutch. You know what, Daniel? While we have you here, too, before you take off, too, I would like to ask you, because your Clippers played the other day, preseason.
Well, a version of the Clippers team played the other day, right?
Preseason, right? I want to get your take on not anybody on the Clippers team, but actually a dude that was going off on your Clippers team by the name of Taylon Horton Tucker. Who is the guy?
He is a unheralded rookie, right? Second round pick, correct? Second year.
Uh-huh.
Never heard of him before in my life, but the dude looks pretty damn good. The Lakers might have something there.
So he first made his debut, I want to say, when people really took notice, it was in the bubble. I believe they were playing the Rockets, maybe? Or it was either the Rockets or the Trailblazers. They gave him some time. They inserted him in the game, okay? And the dude literally came out, was playing defense. I was like, yo, okay. I see dude can play some defense. And he had a nice little Euro. I said, and he can score. Like, Daniel, the dude has a 7'1" wingspan. He's 6'4". He's built kind of like
super athletic too.
He is athletic. He's athletic like an Eric Gordon. He's kind of built like a PJ Tucker in a weird kind of way, but also has like a seemingly kind of like a Harden-ish, smooth type weird game. I'm just like, dang, shoot.
That's a very weird NBA creature you just built there.
It is. But you think about it, with what the Lakers have added now, they're considered an 87% favorite to win the championship.
I mean, the B squad. Preseason, right? But the B squad beat our B squad by 20-some points.
Preseason,
but
it was preseason. He stole the ball from Kawhi, but it was preseason. It's all preseason.
But you know what? As much as the Clippers are trying to, get on with a new coach and instead of a new system, the Lakers have a lot of brand new role players that they're trying to get used to it too. So I think it was about the same. And I would say this right now, the Lakers look much better than the Clippers at this point, and they might have a young hidden gem in this guy because he looks like Like he could cause some damage if they, and that's why you can tell they were trying to get him playing time. They want him to get that confidence up and just play more.
Yeah, because
So they can start trusting him in the regular season.
If he has a bad offensive night, which I'm assuming will happen, if he can play defense like that and get steals, they're gonna be tough. They're gonna be really, really tough.
Absolutely.
Like, man, you talk about LeBron needing to get rest, and then hopefully you can, help AD from getting hurt. I mean, AD seemed like he get hurt all the dang time. What did you say off there, Greg, about AD?
Dude, I've never seen someone have so many nicks and pains and get poked in the eye so many times. I'm like, bro, this has happened to everybody.
You're 6'11". Who's poking you in the eye?
I don't know. It just happens. Like it seems like every half it gets poked in the eye.
I mean, you got guys that just put their hands up, they try to slap the ball. It happens.
Must be the unibrow.
As my 50-year-old uncle, who watched Kurt Rambis back in the 70s, he's soft. These young players these days are soft.
How worried about you are the Clippers? Because I'm pretty worried about them.
Look at me, cool, calm, and collected. But on the inside, I've already conceded defeat. On the inside, I just know what's going to happen. I'd rather it be quick and painless. I'd rather it be quick and painless than, hey, take the Lakers to 7, and you're up by 10 going into 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and friggin' LeBron scores 15 straight points to win. I'd rather just put us out of our misery. Don't even make the playoffs. If you're gonna let me down like that again, because I don't know if I can take another one of those.
Should Paul George have gotten that money
altogether? Paul George is gonna be worth that money, and Paul George is gonna come back strong this year.
He needs to.
That went under the radar with the Giannis side today, but yes, and nobody believes in Pandemic P. Nobody believes in Paul George. He's gotten that his entire career. Remember when he came back? They said, "Can he come back?" He's not the same player, and he was third in MVP voting that year. When he was with OKC.
He's talking too much, man.
He's dealt with a lot of injuries. I think this year they're gonna gel, and the team that you see at the beginning of the year is not gonna be the team you see at the end. At least I hope not.
I'll just tell you this: if they don't gel and they have another second round exit, Kawhi is out of there.
Kawhi's gone, and you just wasted.
And we don't know where he's gonna go.
I think he stays.
Let's be honest; they could play their best game, and they still might lose.
I just thought
that's the thing about this. What's that?
I thought of something. If Kawhi leaves, right, what would be the odds of him going to play with Giannis?
He's not leaving. His family's in LA.
I don't think he's gonna leave.
Thank you, Greg. Voice of reason.
Probably not, because his family isn't.
What are the odds? I don't know.
Paul George would be leaving.
I mean, this is the guy who left Toronto. He left Toronto after winning a championship to go to his hometown. He's gonna leave his hometown to go to Milwaukee.
Especially when he gets everything he wants.
Other than hot dogs, other than
I'm just saying, the reason why I bring that question up is because yes, he is home. I get that. But he wants to win. And I just don't. Does he go and join the Lakers? Because if he does that, I'm not watching basketball.
No, but I don't think he wants to win that bad. He's going to join a super team. No.
He wanted to join them before.
Huh?
He wanted to join them. The only reason why he's in LA, he's joined the Clippers. Kawhi.
Yeah.
Kawhi was going to join the Lakers, but the only reason why he joined the Clippers is because they got Paul George, and that's
because he would end up.
No, he didn't want to play with
like David Lillard his entire career, which there's nothing wrong with being David Lillard. I love Dame Dash, but a one-man band who you can't win with only one person. And he knew that. He knew he needed another star to come in if they were even going to compete. And look, he has one, and they still are barely competing.
Right.
It's an arms race to the top, and I think the Lakers won it this year. But Serge Ibaka, he's gonna bring a different. I like him much better.
Is he gonna last the season?
He
was on the bench in Toronto until the bubble where he showed up.
I hope so. I don't know. I think he's a better player than
Pat Bev. Still your point guard?
Pat Bev is still a point guard.
I think Lou Williams
gets traded. How we're gonna get another one
midway through the season.
I don't know why Dennis Schroeder decided to go to the Lakers rather than the Clippers.
I think Lou Williams gets traded. Lou Williams is going to get traded.
You think he doesn't play defense?
Yeah, I have a feeling he's going to get traded because I think the Lakers,
There was
the Clippers are going to be like, we need to get another guy who can play
well,
defense.
The big thing about the Clippers was
of-
their depth, and they were able to when Kawhi took off and decided, hey, I don't want to play this week, or I got an owie, I got to sit out. They had the depth to go ahead and just win every time. Now that's
Michael
gone.
Green is now where? Denver, right? Or no, did he go to Utah?
Who? Jermichael Green?
Michael Green.
Denver.
He went to Denver. Right? Mo Harkless was a big loss too. When y'all seen him over.
Yeah, but we got some good guys back, man. We got a guy that we got in the Shamet's gone. Some good role players. Well, I mean, we re-signed Morris, which was a must for us.
But y'all might get his brother too somehow.
Yeah.
He can somehow.
You know, we got Luke Kennard, Reggie Jackson, Patrick Patterson. Zubac can get more minutes. Zubac was, you know, that's one of the reasons why I supported the Doc Rivers firing, was because he played Montrezl Harrell more than Zubac. And, you know, he sat Zubac a lot of times in the fourth quarter, and that's when they would give up leads because Harrell was too small to guard those guys. So I think, you know, he's going to be hidden behind Anthony Davis out there. And who else? Didn't they get another big body for Lakers?
They got
Gasol. Yeah, so he's going to be fine there. He's not going to have to take over those, you know, defensive duties against the big guys. But we picked up Nicholas Batum too, which we finally have a big man, which I'm happy about. So Batum and Zubac, better than what we had last year by far.
Not a big man. Batum's like 6'7".
He's 6'8".
Oh my gosh!
Why was I thinking he was 6'11" for some reason?
I don't know.
I was thinking.
Just hoping. He got a growth spurt at like 40.
Right.
I was thinking some other Nicholas, I think. But I mean, Serge Ibaka, we got Zubac, Kennard. I do think you're right, though. I think trade Lou Williams because he's a defensive liability.
For Lou Williams, though.
Hey, what if they traded Lou Williams and maybe the Lakers, if Morris doesn't get any playing time because guys move ahead of him, trade Lou for Morris. Have the Morris twins together.
Why would the Lakers help the Clippers, though?
What'd you say?
Why would the Lakers help the Clippers?
Well, but they might be helping themselves and getting.
They might be helping themselves by getting Lou Williams.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a pretty fair trade. I don't really care for the other Morris, though. I don't really want both of them. Neither more.
But I don't think the Lakers are going to do that because they don't want him to come back and haunt them and start.
The Clippers need more scoring, not less.
Right.
So I don't think trading Lou Williams for a utility player is really going to do much. Yeah. Because Lou Williams, he could put up 30 in a game if he really wants to. You know what I mean? So I think they keep him. I think they keep him and let him play out his career out here in LA. There's really no reason to trade him unless you put him as part of a package to get another star or a third wheel.
Maybe you can
but
get.
You don't have the big do something like that.
Playing better.
I know. I like Reggie Jackson, man. I was excited about that signing when they did back then, but I don't know.
You know what? Weird. Last thing, and we'll let you go, Daniel. I apologize. Weird question. Would you? And this is for you, Daniel. Would you trade a Lou Williams to get a Derrick Rose? Yes or no?
Yeah, all day. I love Derrick Rose. I would do that trade 10 times out of 10 because Derrick Rose, at this point of his career, yes, he can put up some points. But he's also going to be able to dish the rock, which Lou Williams is not a very good point guard, or he's not really a point guard, right?
Right. Or
Derrick Rose plays harder. He plays better defense. He's bigger than Beverly, so he provides a little bit bigger body. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the trade that you make if you're the Clippers. You trade for Derrick Rose.
But why? Why? These NBA teams, like, you only make trades for either salary cap reasons or to put people as part of a package. Straight up 1-for-1 players like that nowadays, really, I mean, especially if they're both guards.
There'll definitely probably be some type of other compensation.
We'll see.
But I think that's the trade that you want to make or something. If you're the Clippers, Derrick Rose is the guy I think you target to come over to your team now.
You need some form of playmaking because you have none.
Yeah, exactly. And what does Kawhi say he wanted? He wants an actual point guard to play with.
Mm-hmm.
Rose is that guy. I think you do that. I honestly think that's the best move that they can make. He's sitting there in Detroit. His career is wasting away. You're not sure about Lou Williams because they've been looking to trade him, right? If you have to give up like a Lou Williams and just say you send Reggie Jackson back to the send Reggie Jackson back to the damn business. You know what I mean? Like because
I don't know, man.
The Pistons have a whole bunch of big men. They need guard play. I'm just saying that's a possibility what you may want to look at. So
Damn, you're just trying to fill my head with all kinds of these crazy ideas, huh? I know what it is, man. You're just trying to get me out of my game for the fantasy football league we're starting, right? The stats versus facts or fantasy basketball league. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. You oughta know.
Down.
It's going down. It's going down. Well, Daniel, Mr. Cutman, we appreciate you being on the show, man.
Hi, sir. It was a pleasure. I'm glad I actually got to spend. I was planning on jumping out for 20, 25 minutes tops. An hour and a half later, it was great.
How we do it, baby.
Hey, I just got to stay up a little later to get my stuff done, but that's all right, man. It was worth it.
All right, buddy. We will.
You guys have a fantastic night. What do you guys have left on the agenda here?
Oh, we talking a little bit more NBA.
This, a little bit that,
Yeah, a little bit of NFL.
Salt.
All right. Well, you guys have a fantastic night, man. And I'll don't talk too much about me while I'm gone. All right.
Oh, we will.
Daniel sucks. I'm gonna say it to you.
Hey, I will take this. My catchphrases were pretty terrible today, and I know you guys were laughing. I saw you snickering in the background. I was trying some stuff out, man. You always got to evolve as an analyst in your game. So you guys take it easy. Congratulations, C-Man, and I'll see you guys next time. I do believe we're going to recap the Triple G fight next coming up this weekend, right? Thursday.
Might be going live with it too. So y'all stay tuned.
Cool.
ID.
Let's do this. Take it easy, guys. Great. Have a good one.
Toodaloo.
Toodaloo.
I hate that guy.
He hates everybody.
Back to our regular story programming.
So to finish it up, couple rookies, preseason, but made some good debuts. Isaac Okoro came out there hooping, hit a game winner. I was like, okay, you doing a little bit more than I actually thought you might do early on. I mean,
yeah,
but
they got some things to figure out over there.
Right.
But he looks good. He looks promising.
He does look pretty good. We also had LaMelo Ball had 0 points the first game, but like 12 assists or something like that, and scored 12 points the second game. I mean, it looks like he's gonna be promising.
I think he's in a good role. The second unit, he'll come off the bench. You kind of lead that. Miles Bridges, Jalen McDaniels look pretty good. They'll have some good highlights in the second unit. He doesn't have any pressure on him right now.
Right. We had Devin Vassell for the Spurs. He actually didn't look too bad, first.
Smooth.
He does look pretty smooth. He was probably the only highlight that the Spurs had because we're going to talk about the Spurs, everybody. I'm not going to get into it. And Bol had a chance to win the game and missed 2 free throws. I was like, come on, man.
Bol, lay my man Marshall down.
You let me down, brother. It's okay. It's only preseason. We'll see a lot more. Coming up. Absolutely. But we're going to close it out. Oh, any thoughts for you before we close it out with the NFL?
No. Good times.
So, closing it out here. The Chiefs, not their greatest day, but they still took care of business against the Dolphins. We're down 10-0. Mahomes had thrown 2 interceptions in the first half. But then by the third quarter, they were up 30-10.
Explosion. Third quarter happened.
And
touchdown, then kick return. So it was a mess after that.
It really was. And then Miami made it interesting towards the end.
Yeah.
Mahomes threw his 3rd interception of the day. So now he is at, I believe, 34 touchdowns with like 5 interceptions on long year.
33-5, I think.
33-5, excuse me. And, the Chiefs did win the game, which, just with their offensive explosion, they did that, right?
Yeah.
And then the other guy who may be an MVP candidate in the Packers, Aaron Rodgers, had a flawless week. I mean, 3 touchdowns, 26 of 33, 290 yards against the Lions, which they won 31-24. Him and Devontae Adams finding their groove. I mean, now
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers on the year is sitting at 38 touchdowns with like 3 interceptions.
39 and 4.
39-4. I'm sorry. One off.
Still there. You're still there. Still counts.
Still there. I looked at this earlier and I was like, wait a minute. I think it was. Anyway, did Mahomes take a step back?
Yeah, he opened the door. He let the doors open.
I think so. I
kind of like Rodgers at this point, right? Not gonna lie.
Right. I'm kind of with you. And now they are in first place in the NFC. The Packers are, since the Saints decided to lose to the Eagles of all weeks. Jalen Hurts, Jalen Magic, that swish. All Eagles fans were talking about. Max Kellerman had been talking about it for the longest time. And Doug Peterson finally put him in, and he actually looked pretty good.
I think everybody got energized and just rallied around him, and he made plays, did enough, really ran the ball well.
Yeah.
Did what he had to do.
He absolutely did. Bills beat the Steelers, handed them their second loss. Now trouble in Pittsburgh.
They're dealing with injuries, and then they're still dealing with Ben Roethlisberger not being enough at this point.
Yeah.
Claypool hit a rookie wall, according to Mike Tomlin. Their line's beat up. Their second, third string. It's just not going good for them.
Running the ball effectively either.
Yeah.
Yep. Stephon Diggs is killing it. He already got 100 receptions on the year. He's third in reception yards behind
Kelsey and DK.
Yeah, by DK Metcalf and Travis. Travis Kelce is leading.
That's crazy, right?
The league in reception yards. Like, he might, if he
first tight end ever.
He'll be the first tight end ever to lead the league in reception yards. That's crazy.
That's nuts, man.
Really is. Really. But Diggs is right there too. He had 10 receptions, 130 yards, 1 touchdown. He's been doing really well. Jared Allen looked okay. 24-43, 238 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Roethlisberger 21-37, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. So yeah, definitely made some mistakes. The pick 6 really hurt them in that.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the first half, that really hurt them. That swung the momentum to the Bills, and they just couldn't recover. So they need to be able to run the ball a little bit better in order to get that out, in order to really go far in the playoffs, because they might be, they could be a first out, if not the second round.
Yeah, the injuries keep piling up. They're ineffective. Ben Roethlisberger being ineffective and almost detrimental to them, and they can't run the ball. It's not looking good for them.
And now, the big one from last night, the Ravens and the Browns. Woo, what a game that was! Lamar Jackson looked like that MVP from last year. Let me just say that. 11-17, 163 yards, 1 touchdown, and then rushed for 125 yards, 9 carries, and 2 touchdowns. He was unstoppable against the Browns. Defense is actually pretty good.
Against the run, too.
Actually pretty good. And for the Browns, Mayfield was 28-47, 343 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. Not bad. Actually, I'm not ragging on Baker this game. That's actually not bad. Chubb had 17 carries, 82 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt was their leading receiver with 6 receptions, 77 yards, and 1 touchdown. Where the hell were their receivers?
It just ended up being the best matchup for them. Obviously, Jimmy Smith got hurt in the first quarter, the cornerback for the Ravens, and then Marcus Peters got hurt later on. So that did open up the receiving game a little more, but it was just Kareem Hunt just out of the backfield. He's a matchup nightmare, and he gets the ball and he's able to break tackles in the open floor. Just ended up being like that.
Same with Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
And you had Rashard Higgins, who was, from my understanding, a fantasy surprise that killed some people's team.
Destroyed my team. Him, T.Y. Hilton, and Nelson Aguilar
Balling.
all decided to go off for like 20 points.
T.Y. Hilton has been. I had him at the beginning of the season. He's been balling. Like, I don't know what got into this guy.
Yeah, the Colts they're starting to run the ball well, and T.Y. Hilton's starting to catch well.
Yep,
They're starting to heat up a little bit.
Right, and that's making Phillip Rivers look pretty good because you have Jonathan Taylor, 20 carries, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. By the way, they beat the Raiders 44-27. You also had, like you said, Hilton, 5 receptions, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. Phillip Rivers had 19 to 28, 244, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he's getting some help. Getting some help. And that loss to the Titans, right, was there what they're well, they beat them the first time, lost the second. I mean, they're right in there. They're right in there still for that the AFC South championship.
Yeah. So.
With the Texans, the Steelers, and the Jaguars left on their schedule, they could possibly squeeze in there, get up into the top.
Possibly running the ball, playing defense, throwing a T.Y. Hilton. Good formula.
Naheem Hines is actually playing well too.
Yeah.
He's actually playing well too. He had they use him as a receiver along with the running back too. So he's getting a lot of play. So it's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting storyline. So we're gonna look at the standings for the playoffs right now. Kansas City has won their division, and Pittsburgh has clinched the playoffs. Kansas City right now is number 1 overall seed. Pittsburgh number 2. You have Buffalo at 3. The Titans are at 4. Cleveland's at 5. The Colts are at 6, and the Dolphins are tied at 7 with the Ravens. Ravens could squeeze in. Still to be seen. We will see.
This could be a turnaround game if they, use the momentum they got from this game, turn their season around.
And looking at their final games, they have the Jaguars, the Giants, and the Ravens. And the Jaguars, Giants, and the Bengals. They're
good.
Now Miami, who's at the 7, they have the Patriots, the Raiders, and the Bills.
Oof.
Yeah, they may not. They may not make it. They may not make it unless Indiana or Cleveland or Tennessee, one of those 3 teams falls off, because Miami and Baltimore are only a game behind them. I don't see Vegas coming up making a surprise. So, yeah.
So what do you think from the game? What do you think? Who's it says more about? You take more away from the Ravens, or you take more away from the Browns?
I take more away from the Ravens. Because it looked like they were dead in the water. COVID hit. They had a bunch of guys out. They beat up on the Cowboys. Just like, okay, y'all beat up on the Cowboys. Cool. But now coming up against the Browns, who they destroyed completely in the first week, which credit to the Browns, they've actually gotten better, but they still weren't able to beat the Ravens team. The Ravens had a better team overall. So I think that's a testament to their will to, try to get back to the playoffs. So they're not going to win the division, obviously. I don't think the Browns are going to either. I think the Steelers are going to win the division. They need one more game.
Yeah.
So, but I think that was a lot about the Ravens over the Browns. Had the Browns won this game, I would have said, okay. And like I said, Mayfield didn't have a bad game. He didn't have a great game. He had an okay game. He had an okay game. If he would have came out balling a little bit more, then I would have said that's more about the Browns. But this is more definitely about the Ravens for me. How about yourself?
I want to say about the Ravens, but I'm actually going to take the Browns. I think they probably should have won this. I mean, obviously the difference in the game is the Mayfield interception that set up the Ravens to score. And then Parkey, the field goal kicker, he missed a field goal and missed extra point. So that's 4 points right there. So that's like 11-point difference. I think the normal Browns, when it's 34 to 20, I think in the third or fourth, going in the fourth quarter, all at that time, normal Browns do not come back.
Right. That is true.
I think they fold. I think it just becomes 45, maybe 45, the 20. I think it goes the other way. But
Right.
to see the Browns were, come back and push that to the end, I think that says a lot about, whether we're trying to see that is Baker Mayfield that guy? Is he that guy that can put him over the top?
Right. Which was good to see them come back, but it's still the same old story that they lost.
Yeah.
For the Ravens, it's just been like, who are they? Are they going to make it? Because had they lost this game, it would have been pretty much it.
Yeah.
The fact that they won this game, it's like now with the rest of the games that they have a legitimate shot at making the playoffs and getting back, and trying to avenge their loss from, against the Chiefs.
Do either of them have a chance against the Chiefs?
Their defense has to show up, which if you let the Browns put that many points upon you, probably not. Especially now that I was looking forward to seeing Des Bryant play. Maybe he could have made a difference, but he said, "Hey, I'm gonna retire. I'm gonna retire for the season."
Good.
He said, "I quit the season."
They took me out of layup line. I'm good.
So definitely is going to be interesting.
It seems like it's who can be the Chief at this point.
Yeah. As Max Kellerman said, it's got to be an act of God for the Chiefs to be beaten, which is it's pretty crazy.
I mean, they win these one-score games every time, so eventually you got to say that the odds are going to flip. They're going to get they're going to get beat one of these times.
Right, it's right at the end. Now, I will say, if Mahomes has a game like this, which was kind of similar, I'm not going to say the numbers were kind of similar to his Super Bowl performance. The outcome wasn't because they went up that big. But if they get down and he has that type of game, they will not come back against a team this year. I don't think that they have. I don't think they can do that this year because they don't look as invincible as they did last year. Like, they look beatable.
Yeah, they just win these close games because their offense is better than everybody else's.
Right. Now, NFC, Green Bay with the win, number 1, they've won their division. The Saints at number 2, they clinched a playoff berth. I don't know why they haven't, because they're still giving Tampa Bay a chance to come back and win the division. That's not going to happen. We know that. So New Orleans is at number 2.
Nope, for Tampa Bay.
Rams are sitting at number 3. They're actually tied with the Seahawks, but they own that better division record. So they're sitting at number 3. Washington sitting at number 4. Seattle sitting at number 5. Tampa Bay sitting at number 6. The Cardinals are sitting at number 7. And then somehow, in a odd outside chance, maybe the Vikings or the Bears, sitting at 6 and 7 right now, might be able to pass the Cardinals. I don't see that probably happening, considering that the Bears just won their first game in like 6 games. They went on a 5-game, 6-game losing.
Money Mitch is back in the starting lineup.
Yeah. I just don't see it happening. But it's very interesting, though. The Vikings are 3-1 in their division, and two of their last 3 games are against division foes. You got the Bears, which is be a big one. One of those teams is
someone has to win that one, right?
Right. They play the Saints, and then they play the Lions at the end of the season. So it's not too far-fetched that they could possibly get in there. The Bears, just for fun, play the Vikings. They play the Jaguars, and they end their season against the Packers. So more than likely, they're probably not. The Vikings and the Bears have a hard team on their schedule, and then 2 kind of another easy game, and then in themselves.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. Arizona, meanwhile, they have the Eagles, the 49ers, and the Rams. So potentially they could lose out.
Yeah.
They could potentially lose out. So we'll have to see on that one too.
Week by week on those.
Right. Now, in the case of Seattle versus the Rams, Seattle plays Washington. They can't lose to Washington this week. If they lose to Washington this week, they're not going to win the division, hands down. Because then they play the Rams the following week, and then they end off with the 49ers. So you got to beat Washington. The Rams, in turn, have the Jets. Come on. You lose to the Jets, you don't deserve to win the division.
That's an act of God.
Right. The Jets.
To win that one.
The Jets, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals. They have a tough.
Ooh, there you go.
road, down the road too. But I see them probably. I see them probably winning out, even though they do go to Seattle this time and play. But it's not really the 12th man because no fans.
Yeah.
Depends on the type of day Jared Goff has because that defense is going to be ready. And
Yeah.
then if
Aaron
Russell
Donald,
Wilson
Brandon.
will definitely want to avenge, and DK Metcalf will definitely want to avenge against
Yeah.
Caleb. So that'll be a big pivotal one to see. And then that last one against the Cardinals, I mean,
They're no slouches. Top
Right.
5 offense.
and especially because the Cardinals will probably be playing for something, So it's very, very interesting with that. Now, I I don't want to. I don't want to talk about it, but I guess we since we're here, we should. The Cowboys are still theoretically, mathematically in the hunt for the NFC East. I mean, Washington's number one. They have the Seahawks, the Panthers, and the Eagles in their final games, right? I think Seattle will beat Washington, okay? The Panthers, I'm not so high on.
Yeah.
If the Panthers somehow beat Washington that week, then Washington's last game is against Philly. And Philly, that could potentially be for the division, depending on how Philly, plays their
Jalen Hurts gets in a roll.
Right. So we'll have to see.
Nick Foles. It's Nick Foles 2.0 now. They go to the Super Bowl and win. Oh,
right. That would be crazy. The Giants sitting at 5-8 have the Browns. Odell definitely wanted to play this game. I know he did. That sucks. They have the Browns, the Ravens, and the Cowboys. If they win any one of those 2 games against the Browns and the Ravens, I think they'll probably win the division. If they lose both, then it's like you got the Cowboys, which that may be a game where y'all aren't even playing for anything either.
We probably have Gilbert in there at that time.
Yeah.
Maybe we keep Andy because he's worse. I don't know.
I don't know either. And with Philly, you have the Cardinals, the Cowboys, and Washington. So really, Philly has a pretty easy schedule if they can beat the Cardinals. If they lose to the Cardinals, they can pretty much kiss their season goodbye.
Yep.
Unless Washington, like we said, loses, to the Seahawks and to Carolina.
Yes. Christian McCaffrey comes back.
Right. So, oddly enough, even though Carolina is actually sitting at number 16, they're still not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. The only team in the NFC that's been eliminated from the playoffs is the Falcons.
Goodbye.
Right.
Matt Ryan will be gone.
Right. So that's weird. Now for the Cowboys, 49ers, Eagles, Giants. Got to beat the 49ers or else.
Over.
And I'm a little more optimistic of it possibly happening that they could beat the 49ers and Washington losing to Seattle this week, which will still keep the Cowboys' hopes alive. But then it's like you got to beat the Eagles. And
historically not going to happen.
Probably not. I mean, it is in Dallas this time, so maybe. Maybe. And then you'd have to hope that Carolina beats Washington. Where the Cowboys really messed up was losing to the Steelers. I think that's a game that is going to haunt them because that's a game that had they won that one, they'd be sitting at 5-8 right now and wouldn't have to win out, I mean, if they won out and then Washington were to lose 2 of their last 3 games, then the Cowboys would be sitting at an 8-8 season.
Would have been good enough.
It would have been good enough. So now you have to hope that you can win the division at 7-9, which probably not going to happen. So this may be the last.
Who's going to win this division?
I don't know. This may be the Cowboys' last meaningful game against the 49ers, So for all you Cowboys fans out there, put up your hope.
Top 5 pick, baby. Here we come.
Because if they win and Washington loses, they actually play around the same time. So they're going to be keeping their eyes on the Washington Seahawks game. And Like I said,
I'm already in draft season. I've been looking at tankathons, seeing who we can get. What do we do if we trade out? I'm already there in my mind.
I feel you. So we'll see. This is what I would really, really want, Greg. And you could be like, you're selfish for this. Let's just go ahead and go into the.
I'm listening.
This is what I would like. What I would really, really like. Well, actually, that couldn't even happen because you would need Philly to lose, or Philly would have to lose. What I really would have wanted to happen is to see the Eagles, Cowboys, Washington, and the Giants all play for that final playoff spot on the final day. But unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen because Philly and the Cowboys have to play each other. So one of those teams will probably, with the loss.
There's been a lot of drama for like the worst teams.
Yeah. So that's interesting because it all also goes upon the, I guess, division, right?
For what?
For the record.
Oh, the head-to-head.
Yeah, the division record. Because I mean, the Cowboys are 1-3 in the division.
Mm-hmm.
Philly's 2-2. New York's 3-2. Washington's 3-2.
Yeah. So if they tie, it's head-to-head. However they did.
Right.
Against that team they tied with.
Right. So I mean, if Philly were to beat the Cowboys, they would be 3-2. And if they were to beat Arizona, and Washington were to win, Philly would actually get the jump on them because of that tie, I think. Because then they would particularly be, well, actually, no, because they play Washington in the last game of the season. So, yeah. Duh.
Too much math for my brain.
So, pretty much, Cowboys need the Giants to lose. Because they would have to, the Cowboys have to win all the games, and they have to have the Giants lose a game. Well, they have to beat the Giants the last game of the season. That's pretty much it. Because the Giants are.
So after all this season, Marshall, you still deep down in your heart want us to make the playoffs.
I just want drama at the end of the season. That's I want the Cowboys and the Giants to be playing for the division crown, and then I want the Cowboys to lose and fire Mark McCarthy. That's what I want to happen. Because it's like
that Stephen A. Smith on TV.
Yeah, after all this, they get a chance to go right down to the last game with the opportunity to win the division. I want to see. It's weird. I may be selfish for this. I love Stephen A. Smith when he comes out with roasting the Cowboys. That I'm telling you, the last game of the season to go to the playoffs and they lose to the Giants, man.
You're a sick man, Marshall. You're a sick man.
Sick.
But I'm down.
Yeah, but more than likely, Cowboys season will be over. If not, probably at next week when the Washington football team beats.
And San Fran runs all over us.
Yeah, San Fran runs all over. I think they're gonna beat San Fran this week. Who does San Fran have?
A team, a breath, a fight, a heart.
Ulster might not even play. They got a bunch of guys that are injured. I mean, hey, maybe. So we'll talk about predictions come Friday. Yeah. That's gonna be the show. We've been on here way too damn long. I can talk sports all night, y'all. Thank y'all for listening, watching, joining me and G-Ray again. Congratulations to C-Mac.
Big brain C-Mac.
Big brain C-Mac. And always, you can catch us on YouTube right now on Stats versus Facts Sports Talk. Again, Stats versus Facts Sports Talk. You ain't got that BS listening to what, G-Rag?
That BS.
Yes, sir.
.fm.
That's absolutely right. Follow the pod on SVS Sports Talk, Instagram, Twitter. Also, go follow Spurs versus Everybody, Instagram, Twitter, you know what I mean? And Apple Podcasts and Spotify too, right?
We all over, baby.
Yeah. we be doing that.
Come find us.
Come find us. So everyone, please be safe out there. COVID vaccines are on the way. So everybody just stay safe for a little bit longer.
Be there, baby. We're at the finish line. Come on, guys.
Absolutely. Wear your mask. or else it might get your ass. And we will absolutely, this is my favorite line. And we will absolutely catch y'all next time on that.
Stats versus facts. Ayy, stats versus facts. Ayy, know where we at on the stats versus facts. Yeah, my boy, hella black. He on the stats versus facts. And you might get smacked by the stats versus facts. Ayy.
Catch y'all next time. Peace.